All the characters in this story are over 18 years old, 21 years old. I can't believe this, Will. Mom looked at me across the dining table with her usual adoring gaze. It was my birthday, and I had just blown out the candles on the cake she had baked for me. It was just the two of us. Mom had disappeared from view for several years, leaving Mom for his secretary, who was 15 years younger. I thought he was an idiot, and our relationship suffered for a long time. Mom grieved for a while because of Dad's infidelity and the breakdown of her marriage, but it didn't take her long to come to her senses. She had a good job and was perfectly able to support herself. I studied business in college, but lived at home to save on expenses. Mom made chicken enchiladas and chocolate cake, my favorites. She was a great cook. That's great, Mom, I said. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It gives me pleasure. She reached across the table and squeezed mine. I was amazed at how young she looked with wide eyes, flawless skin, and brown hair falling over her shoulders. I felt a strange tingling sensation. A son usually does not feel such trepidation because of his mother, but I did it. Mom didn't seem to realize the impression she was making, so I shrugged or tried to. We cleaned up the kitchen together when dinner was over. 21. Mom said while we were both washing the dishes, "That was the number of your football uniform, right?" "Yes," I said. "Both years of study at the university. I was a strong defender on the school team. Mom said I was a cheerleader in high school. I was the head cheerleader in my senior year." "I didn't know that," I said. "I think this is the first time you've said this to me." "Really?" She asked me. "I'm surprised you didn't know that. I think my cheerleader uniform is still at home somewhere." "Mom, I had no idea. When was the last time you wore it?" "I haven't seen it since middle school," she said. "Why don't you try it on?" I asked her. "I'd like to see it." After the words left my lips, I thought maybe it was weird to want to see my 40-year-old mom in a cheerleader costume, but I really wanted to see her in it. "I do not know." "Well," she said. "Come on, Mom," I said. "Please me. Today is my birthday." "I'm not sure where she is," she said. "But since it's your birthday, I'll look for her. Even if I find her, I'm not sure I'll fit in." "Take your time," I said. "It's early evening." It was still early. Mom came home from work early to cook dinner for my birthday, and we finished, and it was only 6:30 p.m. Mom looked at me, puzzled, and sighed. "There's nothing going on here," she said. After Mom left the room, I also got up from the table and went to my bedroom. I took my old football jersey out of the closet. Mom went to the same high school as me more than 20 years ago, but I was pretty sure that the colors white, green, and gold remained the same. And I thought it would be fun to see if we fit together. I took off my t-shirt and pulled on a t-shirt. I went back to the kitchen, sat down at the table, and waited. It took, as it seemed to me, a long time. But eventually the sound of my mother's soft footsteps reached my ears, and she turned the corner, and voila! Mom was standing there in her old cheerleader costume. She looked confused. She stood in the doorway, shifting from one foot to the other. "What do you think?" "What is it?" she asked in a low, trembling voice. What was I thinking? I didn't know what to think. I've never seen Mom like this before. I've never seen her wear such a short skirt. She was tiny. It showed off most of the legs. Her legs were slender, but graceful under the small, pleated hem of her skirt. Considering that the uniform fit her in high school, it was amazing how well she fit it. Now, but overall, Mom looked surprisingly good. I was a little excited. I didn't say anything at first. Mom said, "You didn't say anything, Will? Do I look ridiculous?" "No, Mom." I said, "You look fantastic. I can't believe how well it suits you." "Thank you," she said. She looked relieved, but skeptical. "We fit together," I said, pointing to the green and gold number on my t-shirt. Unlike my mom's uniform, my t-shirt has become more spacious since high school, as I lost some of the muscles I gained in those days by working out for hours in the gym. "You look very handsome," Mom said. Mom kept saying things like that to me, but this time it was a little different when she was looking at me in my tank top, and I was staring at her, yes. I was staring in a tight skirt and a cheerleader top. We just stood there for a moment, looking at each other. Maybe we both felt a little nervous, a little ridiculous, and a little something else. Mom broke the silence. It was fun. It's time to stop looking stupid and take this thing off. She turned to go back to her bedroom. Don't do this, I blurted out. Stay like this. I will continue to wear my t-shirt. It's going to be fun. It will be as if I am the captain of the team and you are the main cheerleader, my mate. I wasn't sure where it came from. I wasn't the captain of the team. This job went to the quarterback, a swaggering asshole with a cleft chin, but I was jealous of him because he was dating the main cheerleader, a red-haired girl named Allison, whom I had always been in love with. I wanted to invite her to the homecoming party, but my hopes were dashed when I found out that she was going with him. A date? Mom looked at me questioningly. Where were you planning to take me? I had no idea. We didn't have any plans for the evening. She stamped her foot. Let's go to the parking lot, I said, and the thought came to me out of nowhere. At the drive-in? I can't remember the last time either of us wanted the parking lot. Why there? I don't know. It just seems to fit what we're wearing. A football player and a cheerleader going to the cinema. Deep down, I had to admit that it was a ridiculous idea. Well, it's your birthday, so if you want, we can. But if I'm going to the parking lot, I need to change. I'm not going to wear myself out with this. Come on, Mom, I said. You look great. And as you said, today is my birthday. You have to do what I want. She raised her eyebrows at my comment. She was not convinced. Come on, Mom. Let's do this, I said. I considered my choice of words as soon as they left my lips. The slight curve of her lips indicated that she also caught the subtext of my words. I don't know. No one will see you but me, I insisted. It's going to get dark soon, and you can stay in the car while I get the popcorn. Mom's resolve seemed to falter. What is being shown? What is it? She asked. Now I'm cheered up. I looked at my phone. In half an hour, the new movie Fast and Furious is being shown. We can get there if we go now. These movies are stupid, she said. But they're funny, dumbass, I replied. This is exactly the kind of movie you should watch at a car dealership. Actually, the few times I took a girl to a car dealership, it was an erotic thriller. But it was Mom, so it seemed inappropriate. All right, Will, she said. Today is your birthday, but I'm not going to get out of the car. You'll have to buy popcorn and drinks. I don't want people to see how ridiculous your old mom looks. You don't look ridiculous at all, Mom. You look really pretty. I think she almost blushed. Thanks. I can't believe I look good in this outfit. It's so tight. But thanks. In fact, Mom looked good because the outfit was tight. It hugged her curves incredibly well. Maybe it was a little tight, but in my opinion, not too tight. Just right. Her waist was surprisingly thin, and the tight-fitting shirt emphasized the size of her bust. The skin on her legs was smooth, and I was amazed at how high the hem of the tiny pleated skirt was pushed up on her hips. We have to go, I said. As I said, today is your birthday, she said. Finally resigned. Then it's a date, I said. Thank you, Mom. I beamed. Hey, since I just turned 21, let's take something with us. I ran to the drinks cabinet and pulled out a 2/3 full bottle of rum. I don't think we should bring alcohol to the cinema, Will, she said, being a mom. No one will know, I said. I took her hand with my free hand and pulled her towards the garage. We hit the road. I opened the garage door for my mom and then opened the car door for her, holding out my hand in an exaggeratedly chivalrous gesture. Mom smiled at me, apparently appreciating both the stupidity and the thoughtfulness of this. I closed the door behind her, got into the driver's seat of the small family sedan, and we set off. We arrived at the drive-in cinema when there were only 5 minutes left before the start of the film. Twilight finally gave way tonight. The sky above was dark and clear, and the stars were shining on it. But there was no moon in sight. I'll get the drinks and popcorn, I said. I knew what my mom liked: Diet Coke and light popcorn with butter. I preferred regular Coca-Cola. I ran to the kiosk and returned to the car with food, drinks, and lots of napkins in my hands. And there was only a minute left before the movie started. I opened the door, got into the car, and took my seat. I immediately noticed that the seat was not particularly comfortable, and I had an idea. "Let's sit in the back," I said. "It will be more spacious and comfortable there. I'll take off the head restraints and slide the front seats all the way forward to give us more room." "Whatever you say, birthday boy," she said. I like to hear my mother in a complacent mood. It was a rarity. I adjusted the front seats and pushed the headrest forward, and we took our seats in the back. See, I quickly realized that the only problem was the seats in front of us. I was tall enough that it didn't matter, but Mom, being short and petite, would have had a hard time seeing over the passenger seat. So she moved to the left to sit in the middle, right next to me, so that no seat blocked her view. Since the back seat was a smooth, leather-covered bench, it was much more comfortable to watch a movie on it than on the front bucket seats. But since Mom was sitting in the middle, next to me, it was tighter than I expected. I was wondering if I had made the right choice. But then the trailer started and we sat in the back seat to watch the movie. I turned to my mom. "Thanks for saying yes to that. You're a good athlete, and it's going to be fun." "No problem," she said, turning to me with a charming smile. "Everything I can do for the birthday boy." Once again, strange, half-formed thoughts popped into my brain before I pushed them back. When the movie started, I poured some rum into each of our Coke cups. Okay, maybe more than a little. It was my birthday, and I was in the mood to treat myself. Mom was right. Of course, the movie was dumb. He was full of tricks that could never happen in real life. But that was part of the fun. We sat in silence for the first 15 minutes. I felt a pleasant buzz spreading through my head. "Wow," Mom said, breaking the silence. "You put a lot of rum in that Coke." I suddenly felt it. Mom was much smaller than me, so I assumed that alcohol would have a greater effect on her than on me. The bowl of popcorn was at our feet, between us, and I bent down to take a handful. But at the same time, I slightly let go of the cup, and some Coca-Cola spilled on my t-shirt. "Damn," I said. "Mom, could you get some napkins?" The supply of napkins was on the seat to her right. Mom picked up a few pieces and pressed them against my t-shirt to soak up the spilled drink. She crumpled the napkins, running her hand over my torso. It was strange, but it was really nice to feel my mother's hand pressed against me. I got a little headache from the rum and something else. Some of it soaked into my shirt and got on my skin. "Can you take it away?" "God will," she said. "What?" I asked. "Your abs. He's like a rock. You don't have any fat at all." She tentatively stuck out her finger and pressed it against my torso. She quickly pulled him away, as if he might bite. "Thanks." It warmed up even more inside me. I was pleased when I was praised, even if those words came from my mother. "I don't understand how you can eat like a horse and stay so skinny. You are the same as your father was when he was young." It was one of the things that attracted me to him when we met. "I've put some effort into it," I said. "I don't gain weight the way I do in the team, but I train and stay fit." "I'll tell you," she said, her gaze lingering on the lines of my stomach. That hum. That hum. It was because of the alcohol, but also because of her look and words. I pointed at her feet.
You're in good shape too.
"Mom," I said, suddenly emphasizing the word, Mom. "Look at your hips. They're pretty fit." Without further ado, I reached out and placed my hand on the nearest thigh, squeezing it gently. The skin was soft and smooth, but I could feel the muscles underneath. "You're in such good shape," I repeated. Mom flinched slightly at the touch of my hand, but did not pull away. "It's all about climbing the stairs at the gym," she said. I took my hand away, and for a while we continued to watch the movie in silence. We finished our Coke and popcorn, and I definitely felt high. I thought Mom thought so too, because when I looked away, her eyes seemed glazed and her lips were parted. In profile, her face looked beautiful and in the dim light. I could almost imagine that she was a girl my age, and that this was an ordinary date. But if this was an ordinary date at a movie theater on wheels, we would have already kissed. I went back to the movie and shook my head to clear it up. It didn't really work. I was still thirsty, but not Coca-Cola. I picked up a bottle of rum from the floor at my feet and poured some into my cup. I offered the bottle to my mother. "A little more?" I asked. "I shouldn't," she said. "You're not driving," I said. She hesitated and then handed me her cup. "Just a little bit." I poured some into her cup. I corked the bottle and put it back at my feet. We sipped the pure rum from our cups and continued to watch the movie in silence. It really was a dumb movie, just a lot of incredible, but well-produced action scene, stitched together with the finest plot imaginable. But the stars were familiar, and at times the action was so outrageous that it made us both laugh out loud. I was glad to see that Mom clearly liked the movie, despite its childishness. The rum probably helped her enjoy it. We both sipped from our cups until the rum ran out. Mom broke the silence. "Well, I have to say, it's sweet. It's a little weird, but it's nice. I'm glad you like it. I'm having fun being here with you. And you look great as a cheerleader." She giggled. "Thanks." She put her hand on my neck and ran her fingers through my hair. "You are a wonderful son. I've appreciated your support over the past few years. It wasn't easy for me. Happy birthday." "You're welcome, Mom. I'm glad I could be with you." Her fingers running over my skull were fantastic to the touch. She jerked her hand away and shifted in her seat. She was a little closer to me than before. Without thinking about what I was doing, I put my arm around her shoulders and gently pulled her to me. At first, Mom tensed and resisted. But then she relaxed, bent down, and put her head on my shoulder. I bent my head towards her and inhaled the sweet scent of her brown hair. I've been in this position with other girls before, but never with my mom. I felt a slight tension between my legs. I held my mother closer to me, slowly and gently. This time, Mom didn't resist. She sighed so softly that I barely heard it over the noise of the movie. But I did. I started squeezing her right shoulder, gently and rhythmically. Once again, Mom didn't do anything to resist. She kept pressing her head against me and looking ahead, pretending to be watching a movie. But I didn't think any of us were paying much attention to the film at that moment. My gaze shifted from the movie screen to my mother's feet. I felt brave. "Mom?" I asked. "What?" She replied without turning her head. "This may sound like a funny question, but what are you wearing under your cheerleader skirt?" Hearing this question, Mom sat up and looked at me. "Do you want to know what's under my skirt?" "Well, yes. I was just thinking about it, and I got curious. You played football, Will. You know what cheerleaders wear under their skirts. You've seen it many times." I know that I said with what I'm sure was a shy expression on my face. I wondered if it was the same in your time." "My time," she replied. "It wasn't that long ago." I'm not trying to be offensive. I was just wondering if it was the same thing. "Well," she began. But she looked at me, and any feeling that she felt obligated to draw a line somewhere seemed to soften and disappear under the influence of alcohol and the special intimacy that we already had. I saw her face fall. "All right," she said. "Are you satisfied?" "What is it?" she asked. "Yes," I said in a trembling voice. "Thanks." She pulled down her skirt again, covering herself. "Let's keep watching the movie." Mom returned to her seat, resting her head on my shoulder, and I covered her hand with mine. And we were just as comfortable with each other as before. My hand resumed caressing her shoulder. This time she moved down. Mom responded by hugging me even tighter. At the moment, I had a plan, and I knew what I wanted to do next. I was good at recognizing a woman's willingness to take the next step. And in those cases, when I took that next step, I was never refused. But it was my mom. Can I take this step? Did I want this? Yes, I wanted that. I felt that there was enough alcohol flowing in my blood, and I had no doubt that this was the case. But what would Mom think? She could have reacted badly and sat down. And then our hugs would have ended. And the date so far, heavenly, could have ended badly. I didn't want this on my birthday. But that night, the devil got the better of my angel. To hell with it all. Finally, Mom said, "It feels good." "Is it pleasant to the touch?" I whispered, "Yes, it is." I've never seen my mom like this before. So soft and compliant. Especially since they broke up with Dad many years ago, Mom has become more businesslike and assertive. But here she lies in my arms, seemingly ready to do anything. I wanted to see what she wanted to do next. I ran my left hand over my body, gently took her chin, and lifted her up until her head was raised enough that I could see her face and her eyes looking into mine. I cupped her cheek in my palm and kissed her, just a soft, gentle kiss on the lips. "Will," she said, glaring at me, and I couldn't figure out what she meant. There were 1,000 meanings in those eyes, and I couldn't tell which one prevailed. Was she going to reproach me? Tell us that we should have stopped. Tell me that we should have left and returned home right now. She didn't do any of that. She pulled away from me for a moment. "We shouldn't have done this," she said. "I like it," I said. "It makes me feel good too," she said. "But we still shouldn't do it." "I want to," I replied. "But do whatever you want, Mom." She paused, but only for a moment, before pouncing on me again, more fervently than before. "Yes, Will," she said. Mom looked like someone I'd never known before. I didn't know who this woman was. But she was gorgeous, and she had a gorgeous body, and she offered it to me. And my hands wanted to explore it. All the time we were writhing against each other. Mom was kissing me, fervently, passionately, and her lips were attacking me like wild animals. I attacked back. It was like we were both hunting and devouring each other. And then, suddenly, Mom snuggled up to me again. And I pulled away from her until I sat up straight again, looking at her in surprise. I didn't think about it for long. "Will," she said, "you don't mind seeing your mom like this, do you? Don't you think badly of me?" "God, no," I said. "Mom, I do not know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Mom said in a hoarse voice. She pushed me in the chest, and it was my turn to lean back into the leather car seat. Mom's quick, nimble fingers slid to the fly of my trousers and against the background of the loud noise of the absurd movie we were supposed to watch, I heard the sound of a zipper being unbuttoned. Yes, she was like that. I looked at my mother's face. I saw rage, longing, and despair, as if she had been craving for something all her life and had never received it. And now, finally, in the back seat of her car, no less than with her son, she had a chance to get it, and they were not going to refuse her. I felt warmth and a surge of strength inside me and realized that I was close to it. It sounded okay to me, but before I gave my mom what she wanted, I needed something. I got up from the seat and pulled her back by her shoulders. Mom looked questioningly into my eyes, but did not resist. She leaned back, watching my hands manipulate her body. "Mom," I said with a heavy sigh. "Will," she said in response. I didn't wait. I felt this initial resistance, and it was amazing. "How do you feel about being in a car dealership, Mom?" I asked. "I'm nervous," she said. "There are worse things than being nervous," I said. There was something going on in the movie theater. I had no idea what it was. Rock was doing something heroic, or Vin Diesel was a tough guy. None of this mattered. All that mattered was that my mom was lying in front of me, and I was 21 years old. I wanted her more than I had ever wanted any woman before. She looked at me, and our eyes met. If I could hide that look, I couldn't resist. I've heard girls say that a guy shouldn't go down too fast or too rough, but take his time, and I tried. But it was hard. I didn't just want to eat Mom. I wanted to swallow her whole. "So good, Mom," I said, pulling away from her just enough to say the words before sinking back down on her. Anyone who passed by could have looked into the car and seen us. Maybe that's how it was. I don't know. I was aware of the risk, but I wasn't going to stop. "I want you," I said. "I need you." "We're terribly defenseless," she said. "Maybe we should go home." "I can't wait," I said. I couldn't. I needed my mom right then and there. And to tell the truth, I liked the risk. I like the idea of using my mom in a public place for the first time. Surrounded by people in their cars, I moved forward and was surprised by how much resistance I encountered at first. I can't believe I'm really using you, I said. Mom didn't say anything for a few moments. She just looked at me with an expression that was impossible to read. The noise from the movie was getting louder. I think the car chase continued. I didn't care. I couldn't turn away from my mom. It feels good, she said at last. It was a pure paradise. I went in and out of her, and Mom pressed her body against mine, writhing and moaning. The moans were sometimes interrupted by an exclamation. Oh, well, I couldn't think of anything else to say. God, it's so delicious, Mom said, breathing heavily. I looked up and noticed that condensation was starting to collect on the windows of the car. Clap. People would have suspected something was wrong if they had noticed this and the fact that our heads were not visible. They would have known what was going on. However, I wasn't going to stop, and I could tell that Mom was pleased too. My mom liked it when her son used her. However, she didn't like it any more than I did. I liked it. God, what a feeling. Tell me how much you like it, Mom, I said. I like it, Will, she said. More, I said, breathing heavily and pronouncing the words with an effort. Tell me more about how you feel. I like the way you use me, Will. Oh, yes, I said. I was too far away to think of anything to say. There was not even enough brain power for words. I collapsed on top of her. We were both sweating. The car was as humid as a jungle. The windows of the car were fogged up. Mom and I lay together for a few minutes until my attention turned to the sound of a movie that we had stopped watching a long time ago. It was all over. I sat down. The credits were rolling. We'd better get dressed, Mom said, though she didn't move. I handed her her clothes. We both got dressed. I felt awkward getting out of the car to get back in the front seat. I was wondering if people would look at my mom and suspect what I was doing with her. In the back seat, I wondered if anyone in the parking lot would recognize us. There wasn't much we could do. After I pulled on my pants again and Mom put on her cheerleader uniform, we opened the back doors and took our seats in the front seat. I didn't see anyone I recognized. Cars began to drive off and leave the cinema. We went home too. Neither of us said anything for a while. I think we were both excited about making love, but embarrassed about it too. Mom was the only one who broke the silence. Will, she said. Yes, Mom. I turned to her. She was looking at me, and I had never seen such a mischievous expression on her face. We don't have to wait for your next birthday to go to the cinema again. End.